with eggs and mayonnaise and had akathisia earlier today, so I figured I'd just live stream. I don't know. I see people streaming on TikTok and all these other apps, and I can't concentrate with psychopathy in my life. Anyway.
What do you want as far as assets go? We're going to divide this house, or are we going to try to keep it all, or what is it?
I don't really think I should keep things a secret. I don't know, I see people just randomly streaming on TikTok just because they're bored. So, I used to do that before TikTok even existed. I have a conspiracy theory. Can I tilt my camera? Gotta tell you guys this conspiracy. The conspiracy is this. TikTok means TikTok. The clock is... I'm so tired. TikTok, the time is running short. The world is coming to an end. And TikTok is just exposing how terrible all of us are as human beings. And I realize rice cakes are extremely loud on camera. Ah. My YouTube basically doesn't get as many views as it used to. I used to just go live and suddenly there'd just be like at least 30 people within like 2 minutes. A mentor of mine was talking about how he was at a sporting event and there was a world famous football player that was retired while everybody was watching some other athlete. And he's like, "Don't you guys know that so-and-so?" The football player, and he was super excited about it. Meanwhile, everybody was gawking their eyes on this other athlete, totally forgetting how big and famous this football player was. And like literally like one of the best ever. So your fame comes and goes. That was his Ecclesiastes study. Meaningless, meaningless. Everything meaningless. These rice cakes are perfect. Who needs firecrackers when you have rice cakes? I don't even know how to use this app anymore because it's been so long. Live chat. Anyway, had akathisia for like hours. And there's nothing you can do about it. And you just snap because it's so unbearable. So unbearable. Nothing anybody says or does around you really helps. Maybe on occasion. Sometimes I feel like the only thing that gives you peace is the thought of somebody saying, "Yeah, you're gonna die." Excuse me. It's like letting your brain know that one day it just doesn't need to be a brain anymore. That sounds messed up. Basically telling your body it doesn't have to move and run and scream. It doesn't even have anything to do with you as a person. It's like I know some people, or this one guy, as an example. I said, "Do you ever like have the ability to make akathisia stop just by simply telling yourself you're doing absolutely nothing for the day?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can do that when it's low grade, but when it's high grade, nothing works." I'm like, yep. Is it weird to eat on camera? Anything goes on the internet these days, so. And then a friend of mine didn't know, not by his fault, his own fault. He didn't know that there's no cure for akathisia, except for time if you're lucky. It's literally hell on earth, and there's no treatment for it. And I can legally say this on my YouTube channel without being a medical practitioner, because the publications out there show that there is no confirmed treatment for akathisia, nor do they know the real reason why akathisia happens. They suspect dopamine, which is likely true to an extent, but those pills damage the brain, and I really doubt it's just a dopamine thing. If you do drugs, do you think you're only going to damage one part of your brain? Do drugs and get away with just hurting yourself in one spot? Come on. Nobody's stupid. Probably because, like I said earlier, my channel's, it needs new people. I'm waiting for somebody to say something in chat, because I really have nothing on my mind except for Big Pharma. What's most frustrating out of all of this is that I'm sleep deprived, so I can't read a book, can't learn stuff, can't be a serial entrepreneur, can't do anything. It's like I took a quick video for my clothing brand, and that was fun. So, well, sort of. Clothing's kind of boring. I like doing research. I like to think. Although I did tons of photography when I was younger. Not very good, but with the sleep deprivation, it's just, what am I, like, what do I do other than just think nothing? But then you think everything. I don't even know how to explain it. Somebody was telling me I need to think less. If I wanted to think less, I would just inject myself with more psych meds and put myself into oblivion. Like, what's a better way to think less than to damage your brain more with the very drugs that are ruining your life? I read a study, actually. This was a good study. I wish I would have bookmarked it. They were trying to find out, what was it, treatments for akathisia? They were trying to figure out what type of side effects akathisia had. Anyway, some way, somehow, I don't remember all of the study. Excuse me, sleep deprived. They gave higher doses of a drug to people with akathisia and said that the symptoms went away. This is actually what I did to myself, sort of. This is kind of what saved my life, temporarily. Wouldn't recommend it. So they gave these people higher doses of a drug, which then drugged them so badly that they masked the symptoms of akathisia and were essentially damaging them, injuring them, which should be criminal. Whoever did that study should probably be held accountable. It's documented that they did it. So they drugged somebody with higher levels of drugs, and they said, well, the akathisia looks like it went away, but we suspect that we probably just masked it by drugging the hell out of them, basically. That's basically what it said. Yeah. I wouldn't say that's exactly what I did. I just switched over to a longer acting benzodiazepine. So that way I'm not going into interdose withdrawals. I'm not stupid. Let's take 700 milligrams 20 times a day of Seroquel. That would be a very wise decision. No, I didn't do that. That study was so botched. What else did it say? It was like, we found no aggression in akathisia patients. So I emailed a researcher. I should finish chewing. Whatever. I emailed a researcher asking about the study that said that they found no aggression in akathisia. And this researcher is somebody that works on violent cases of akathisia for a living. On a daily basis. That's what this person does. Deals with people being... I won't go into details. Just horrible stuff. Horrible stuff. I said, how did they not conclude that akathisia causes aggression? And the response was actually quite simple. They weren't looking for it. You can only find what you're looking for. Oh, that was pretty interesting. I think that's true. For the most part. Unless you're talking something spiritual to where something is forced on you. Yeah, that's the only way. Either something gets so bad that you have no choice but to look at it, or you thought to look of it and found it. So these researchers could only only saw what they were looking for. And it did show that there were aggressive patients in this study. Now I need to be careful. How blind of a human being do you have to be to not see the symptoms of akathisia? If you don't see the symptoms of akathisia, I'm not even a doctor. It's just so obvious. If you don't see the signs and symptoms of akathisia, read the book by Paul Ekman. His Micro Expressions book. I don't remember the title of the book right now. There are just universal languages, universal body language that you just cannot ignore. And when somebody says that they're having certain symptoms, and thousands of people start saying it, are you really going to be the blind fool that decides, I don't believe it. La 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 la. Big Pharma doesn't exist. It's like, did you know that there are doctors that don't think Big Pharma causes financial leverage? Did you know that? Some doctors still believe that. I don't know if that's true. Do they really believe that Big Pharma doesn't fund and make people rich? Because it's literally on Wikipedia. It's so readily available. All the documentation for what Big Pharma has done to people can literally be Googled and go to Wikipedia, or you can just go to the government court websites and read about this stuff. Pharmaceutical kickbacks, the lying, the burning of documents. It's all there publicly. All there publicly. I don't think this pill is leveraged by money. What are you talking about? All of them are. All of the pills are leveraged by money. There is not a single drug on this planet that's not leveraged by money. Because that pill wouldn't be in your hospital or in your office if it wasn't for the leverage of money. Because pharmaceuticals is a business within nature. And it's within human nature to be scandalous. Because all are sinners. All are wicked. It's just common sense.
We should talk about how said he knew all about it and the baby dose. Just my opinion.
Yeah, it just hurts to think about memories. There was a psychiatrist I talked to. I wish my camera angle was better. There was a psychiatrist I was seeing for a little while. They had a family member that committed suicide from a single dose of a psychiatric medication. And he said he understood what akathisia was. Then cut my medication in half. I talked to an attorney about that one, and they thought that maybe I should sue that guy. And then it gets even crazier. He says, Valium doesn't cause akathisia because it's metabolized differently. And he has a pharmacist come in. I could sue the pharmacist for... yeah, I probably should look into this again, to be honest with you. Maybe if my attorney friend's watching. So they show me that the pathway of Valium is different. The metabolic pathway, probably cytochrome P450 and all that. And I'm like, okay, but that doesn't negate the fact that it still produces GABA, and then the high levels of GABA cause dependency in downregulated GABA and upregulated glutamate. Even though it gets absorbed differently, that doesn't mean it's not acting as a drug that does the same thing. It's just like, I learned this probably the hard way too. My friend definitely did. I feel horrible for him. Did you know a medication, so long as it acts with the same effects as the original drug, even if its chemical composition is different, they can still call it that drug? That's messed up. I'd have to look into that a little bit more, so don't hold me fully on that one. Typically I'm done eating in 5 minutes, but not today. One of the doctors that treated me in a hospital, by the way, I don't know if I told you guys this, he's probably going to go to prison soon. He frauded my insurance and hundreds of other people's insurance for conditions that they don't have. And this guy is actually part of why a lot of doctors were misdiagnosing me, because of his records. Thankfully, he's going to prison. I called an attorney's office. I don't remember the name of this attorney. Those dogs almost killed me the other day. I called an attorney's office and I said, can you help me sue this guy? And they said, well, typically we're on the other side where we back up the doctors, so no, we can't, unfortunately. And the woman said, file a police report on this doctor, which I still need to finish up. And she said, call an attorney and sue him before he goes to prison. That guy's gonna get life in prison. I guarantee it. Not the first doctor I've witnessed go to prison. I had a friend. His mother This one makes me sick. My best friend growing up. And I was not, as Augustine said, after I had been betrayed, I could never trust a man ever again. This is kind of a friend like that. Anyway, his mother, from what I could tell, didn't actually have cancer. His mother didn't have cancer, and I saw her in a hospital getting chemotherapy with no hair. She died. My friend lost his home that he lived with. He lost the home that he was living in with his mother, that I was living there for a while. One day I saw on the news the doctor that she was being treated by had hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds, literally. I don't know how you think you can get away with something so foolish. He went to prison because he was killing people, giving them chemotherapy when they didn't have cancer. Just goes to show that chemo kills, by the way. Careful, mate. Pulley Dr. Morse here. So this doctor killed my best friend's mother. And I saw it on it was like the first iPhone at the time. Saw it on the news, and I looked up at him and I showed him. We just both choked up, didn't know what to do. And he froze. He's like, and then in my head, look at the still small voice. I was still too young. I didn't fully understand. I'm like, I think we're supposed to be suing this or going to court or something. And what is wrong with people? I know what's wrong with people, but there are other ways to make a lot of money. The day my friend's mom died, one other buddy of ours was in the car leaving the hospital. And he said, "How come you're not crying?" He asked my friend. I'm sure he wept later, or was groaning in his heart, devastated. My friend just responds and says, "I know she's with the Lord. She's way better off." Even though he betrayed me, at least I know he's saved. You don't say something like that unless you genuinely mean it. It's possible that God sovereignly ripped us out of each other's lives because we were both needing to grow up. It's like it's him texting me somehow. I'd be messed up. No, it's my battery. Well, here's a 30-minute meal. It typically only takes 5-10 minutes. That's annoying. I have my phone on Do Not Disturb and it still does that. I'm good at my charger. Don't trip on that cord.
Oh, wait. I'm seeing.
Ted, it's gotta be you. It's you. He's like, oh no, how to figure it out. Maybe I should just live stream instead of trying to record normally. Because then I never get anything done.
Are you talking to that guy that likes cats?
I should probably finish this meal so I can talk. I posted a product reveal of 3 shirts for sale at shop.kadoshlife.com. It's on TikTok, Kadosh Life, Kadosh Life, and it's on YouTube as well. I had this on my mind while I'm talking about Big Pharma. Even though I'm angry, always will be. God is angry every day. If anybody says otherwise, they never read their Bible. It says God abhors the wicked. He's immutable, which means unchanging. His anger doesn't change. So although I'm angry at Big Pharma and all these people involved, and the doctors with their ignorance, if a patient says that they're not feeling good, you know you're supposed to listen. And they don't listen. So even though I'm frustrated and angry at them, you reach a point of despair for so long that it kind of wears off. Sort of. It's like Ecclesiastes. There's a time for everything. There's a time to give up. It's not a normal give up. It's more like, You're just like, you just put your hands up. It's just the reality of this world. And the great news is, we're all going to die. And some get to see Jesus and others don't. I would argue that the ones that have brain damage to thousands, if not hundreds, wait, no, it is hundreds of thousands, excuse me. I will argue that the majority of the people that brain damaged close to 1 million people with pharmaceutical medications are going to hell. But anyway, what I was saying is, some of you will never experience this level of despair to where you just drop and give up. you'll probably die before then, which is a good thing. Unless God forces you to stay alive like he's done me. Typically your medical condition will take typically your medical condition will take you out before you ever reach the point of just complete brokenness to where you're literally like laying in ashes and despair over the people that have done it to you. Typically. It's like Job. Pretty sure God told Satan not to kill Job. Can you imagine? Infinite pleasure, infinite rest and peace given to you, but the giver of it says, not right now. You get to stay trapped with friends that are accusing you of things that are wrong. You get to stay trapped with the devil that is on you. That's what akathisia is like. That's what it's like to be a slave to the pharmaceutical industry and these doctors that trap you in their hospitals and drug you to oblivion. And then they think they're helping you because you're so drugged out of your mind. Half these people have to be demonically oppressed or possessed, if you ask me. Since I'm a Christian, I can say that. Careful, Christianity is soon going to be considered a mental illness. Alongside all of the other emotions that people have, how is it that we have people that are controlled by their emotions to where it is socially acceptable? Transgenderism as an example. It's socially acceptable to be completely out of your mind thinking you're the opposite sex. Or in complete denial and being addicted to that, or whatever. And many other reasons. Ligonier is talking about it. And jealousy, being envious of the opposite sex, therefore you do that thing. So, society says, it's okay to be that way. That's no longer mental illness. But suddenly, normal emotions that just don't so happen to be that one, all of the other normal human emotions are now a mental illness. Depression, or being sad over your life, is a mental illness. That's like the most atheistic thing you could ever say. The only way you would be able to get away with saying something is a mental... No, not even. You can't even do that. No, I take that back. I was going to say you'd have to believe in evolution in order to call something an illness. But you wouldn't, because the evolution in of itself would be a natural mechanism no matter what. So no matter what side you're on, whether you're an atheist or a Christian, they're both accepted. I hope that makes sense, what I'm saying. Okay, so you're sad, you're mentally ill, therefore you need drugs. You're a transgender dressing in weird ways and your mind is distorted. Well, that's just socially acceptable and you don't need anything. They need Jesus is what they need. Even then, when you have Jesus, you're still going to be really beat up. The only difference between an unbeliever and a believer, besides going to heaven or hell, is that believers are typically really beat up, but follow Jesus. And an unbeliever is really beat up and doesn't follow him. So both sides struggle. Both sides will struggle. But the only difference is one side decided to not go to hell. That's really the only difference. That's it. Every person in the Bible made so many horrible mistakes. At least when they realized how holy God is. Let me finish this meal a little bit here. I love how loud rice cakes are on camera. I learned recently that YouTube's format changed. Not for me. I was already doing this stuff. A lot of people are just sitting around or doing their thing for the day and just recording it. And that's like how YouTube works now. People are just vlogging their lives. I'm having akathisia so bad in my legs right now while I talk. I apologize for eating, but I'm so sleep deprived and disabled. I really don't have the energy to do more than one thing, so it's like I have to eat and talk at the same time. When you don't see me on here, I'm typically eating while scrolling on my phone. I had somebody tell me recently, I don't know if I can be mentioning people's names too often. I hate not mentioning names. It's kind of frustrating. Because then people don't believe me, but it's just mainly because either I respect their privacy or they're medical professionals. And it's not a very normal and wise thing to mention a medical professional's name. Or a specialist in one of those areas. I'm streaming, I'll just pause it and finish eating. It's wild to think that I have 3,000 subscribers and my live streams are just ghost towns these days. Jordan Peterson was actually talking about how you need to be very careful about success. Not saying 3,000 is anything great, but anyway. Success, even when you're successful, doesn't last. And it's very dangerous and unsustainable to rely on. That's why it's so important to have family and friends that are there always. So then when your YouTube channel or your podcast or your movies stop, you've at least got people that you trust in your life that are still around. His family saved his life. I forgot I have malls, so I'm in pain while talking. I really need to get on TikTok. Excuse me. I really need to get on TikTok Live. I just don't want to do it the diabolical way that people are doing, which is the follow for follow thing. That's so bad for your channel. Because then you have followers that are not interacting with your channel, which is then telling the algorithm that these people are not interested in your content because you're not getting interactions. You'd be better off making a ton of videos and content on your TikTok, learning what people are interested in and learning what you're good at and learning what you're interested in, and then getting to the point to where you're able to go live and have experience to then that experience will benefit you while you're streaming live. I miss YouTube so much, it's unbelievable. No words to describe it. It was so much fun. So much fun. Even just editing for like 12 hours straight sometimes. I don't know how long. A very long time. It was fun. I liked it. So I have I don't think I released this yet. My neck is broken, by the way. I'm gonna restart my stream. Check my channel for part 2.